These are 3 mysteries that remain unsolved. Part 3. Kevin Martin walked out of his house one day without telling anyone in his family. He was only 13, and it wasn't the first time he'd done it. He wasn't a bad kid. He was kind to his family, polite at school. But ever since his brother had died in a tragic house fire, something in him had changed. He started leaving home without warning, skipping school, and trying to earn the approval of the popular kids. He wanted to be part of their group. Everyone knew deep down he wasn't like them. The loss of his brother still weighed on him. He craved belonging, and he seemed to find it among the troubled kids. He had gone out without permission before. But that day, he didn't come back. At first, he was reported missing. Then they found his body, buried in a shallow grave. No one could say who did it or why someone would believe a 13-year-old deserved to die. Based on the details, I have 2 theories. The first is about the grave. Its shallow depth points to improvisation. Whoever killed him likely didn't plan to dispose of a body, so they dug a quick grave after the murder, probably in a panic, afraid of being discovered. The second theory comes from the fact that there were no other murders. That could mean Kevin was the killer's first victim, and the violence shocked them more than they expected. And no, it wasn't an accident. The condition of the body made it clear. This was intentional. And the more I look at it, the more obvious it seems. It had to be those new friends. Let's explore the possibility of a serial killer. Look at where Kevin lived. A tiny town, houses far apart, and just 2 blocks from home, you'd find yourself in complete isolation. It's the perfect place for a textbook psychopath. Kevin wasn't the only kid who snuck out of the house. Someone like that would have known the families and might have struck again. But no, it never happened. If it had been an adult, it would only make sense if it was an accident and they buried the body out of fear. But again, the wounds proved it wasn't accidental. It's hard to believe an adult could kill a kid like that and then stop forever. It reminds me of the first mystery we covered, the Boy Scout boy. If someone had the cold blood to kill a 13-year-old without motive or consequence, why stop? Unless there was a motive. But Kevin wasn't the kind of kid to cause trouble. The group he joined? Sure. They had probably made a lot of people angry, and yet no one ever laid a finger on them. That leaves only one possibility. They were the ones who did it, that new group of friends. But there's one more detail I haven't mentioned, and it changes everything. Kevin's body wasn't found near his town. It was discovered 43 minutes away by car near a factory. It's clear he didn't walk that far on his own. Someone took him, alive or dead. They drove him out, buried him, and left. Introducing an adult into this theory changes everything. Someone who drives 43 minutes away instead of burying the body nearby is trying to make it look like Kevin simply disappeared. The act of removing him from town suggests that the kidnapping and murder happened in town because Kevin wouldn't have wandered that far on his own. There was nothing out there for him. So let's recap this version. It wasn't random. Someone didn't just spot him walking and decide to kidnap him. They abducted him in town, drove away, didn't abuse him, killed him, and buried him. Wait, what? I'm not proud of it, but over the years I've seen a lot of cases like this, and 2 details here make that scenario highly unlikely. Not impossible, but extremely improbable. Here's why. Adults who target kids, especially young teens, usually do it for one reason: abuse. Think of names like Luis Garavito, the monster of the Andes, John Wayne Gacy, the clown, Sir the German watchmaker Siegfried Vermeer. In those cases, it wouldn't be odd to bury the body. Those types often feel ashamed and want to hide what they've done. But Kevin hadn't been abused. That small detail changes everything. Driving 43 minutes now takes on a different meaning. This is just a theory, and there could be dozens more, including some in your own head. But here's mine. The kids he had been hanging out with killed him. Maybe it was semi-accidental. Maybe they didn't realize what they'd done. Doesn't matter. Someone panicked and told their parents, and the parent, seeing the situation, decided to take the body, hide it far away, and make it look like Kevin had run away to protect their child and themselves. It sounds cold, I know, but the strangest things happen in the smallest towns. And this theory explains everything. Why there were no more murders. Why the grave was shallow. Why someone drove 43 minutes just to bury a body. It may sound wild, but compare it to the alternative. That some random person passed through a small town, kidnapped a boy, didn't abuse him, killed him, and buried him far away as if it served some purpose for someone who didn't even live there. As for the motive, it could have been anything. Kevin tried hard to fit into that group, and they probably took advantage of him. Maybe they mocked his dead brother. Maybe it led to a fight he couldn't win. Maybe it started out as a prank and ended in tragedy. And unless someone talks, we'll never know. Small towns know how to keep their secrets. A message hidden in the wall. Sometimes a mystery is more tragic than puzzling. Sometimes the only real question is how no one noticed. It all started when the owners of a small building decided to remodel one of the apartments. It had been vacant for a while, and they wanted to renovate it and rent it out. They hired a contractor and his team to get the work done. Everything was going fine until they started tearing down one of the walls. That's when they found it. It was a message, written in red ink. Not painted, not carved, just a sentence written by hand, as if someone had scribbled it desperately and no one had noticed. It said, "I'm trapped in the apartment. Help me." At first, the workers thought it was a joke, a prank left by the previous tenant or a twisted attempt at humor by someone who'd worked there before. But something about it didn't feel right. It was too simple, too raw, and too hidden. It was written in the space between two layers of wall. That meant someone had written it before the wall was sealed, and then, for some reason, no one had seen it again, until now. The owners were contacted immediately. They didn't take it seriously. They said no one had ever lived there with mental issues, that no one had gone missing, that it was impossible. They even laughed about it, until the contractor decided to knock down more of the wall. Behind it, they found something else. Another wall, and then behind that wall, they found something worse. Bones. Human remains. They called the police. The news never made national headlines, but it was big enough to shake the town. A woman had disappeared 5 years earlier. She had been renting that apartment. Her boyfriend had said she packed her bags and left one night without saying a word. No one saw her again. The investigation went cold. No signs of violence, no body, no trace. But now, with the remains discovered in the wall, everything changed. They identified the body through dental records. It was her. And the worst part, the part that still haunts me, is this. That message wasn't written with a marker. It wasn't even ink. It was blood. A paranoid decision. She acted like she was scared of everything. Paranoid almost. That's how Carly behaved during the school party held one Friday in 2018. She had smoked marijuana. It wasn't her first time. At 16 years old, she had already had a few talks with her parents about it. But she wasn't a problematic teen. She was curious more than anything. It didn't affect her grades, and up until that night, it hadn't affected her physically either. But during that party, something changed. Her boyfriend noticed she was acting like everything terrified her. The crowd, the music, the very atmosphere, as if something awful was going to happen. She couldn't say exactly what it was, just that she felt she could die at any moment. People described her as paranoid, and it certainly looked like a psychotic episode. Maybe she had taken too much. Maybe it had been laced with something. But whatever the case, she was terrified. So much so that she called her stepmother to pick her up, even if it meant facing the worst punishment of her life. They got home around 9 o'clock. She was still scared, still talking nonsense, still shaking. Her stepmom tried to calm her down. Her dad was upstairs. Carly stayed on the couch. The idea was to let her rest and check on her in a while. But when her dad came down, Carly wasn't there. The door was wide open, and she didn't have a phone. The search started immediately. Family, friends, and volunteers combed through streets, nearby parks, and wooded areas. After 4 days, the police found something, a hoodie, in the middle of a forest. But Carly wasn't there. More time passed. Then they found her shoes, perfectly placed side by side, not kicked off or scattered, but almost intentionally positioned. And again, Carly wasn't there. Then finally, a week later, they found her body, floating in a lake. No signs of violence. She had drowned. The authorities closed the case. It was an accident, but to this day, her parents still don't believe that. Not because of the drug or the paranoia, but because of the trail she left behind. She left her clothes as if trying to leave a message. A hoodie, then her shoes, then her body. It's like she was dropping breadcrumbs to be found. But here's the thing. If she was trying to be found, why was she walking into the woods in the first place? Her father doesn't know. No one does. Maybe she felt the world was collapsing. Maybe she thought someone was coming for her. Maybe she thought she was infected or cursed. Or maybe she just wanted to disappear. But if that was the case, if she wanted to disappear, why call her stepmom and go home? This story feels like a tragic accident, and maybe that's all it is. But in my gut, I think she was trying to say something. That the way she placed her shoes wasn't random. That the way she left was a decision, maybe not a conscious one, but a decision nonetheless.